Okay, so I'm going to do this selection again. I'm going to start out the same as I did before. I'm going to use the marquee tool to drag out a rectangular selection. And as before, I'm going to include a little extra. So I have to, because with a rectangular selection tool, I can't get just the part I want. But I'm going to clean up the selection differently than before. This time I'm going to use the select transform selection method, and this will allow me to work a little more quickly. Now I can adjust these corners of the selection just by clicking and dragging, but clicking and dragging alone doesn't work because it keeps everything perfectly rectangular. It keeps 90 degrees angles at all the corners. But if I hold down the Control key or Command on the Mac, I can adjust these wherever I want. So I'm holding down Control continuously, and I'm clicking and dragging on the corner points and putting them right where they need to be. And now in this way, I can more quickly get the rectangle outline just the way I want. So I'm done with that. Now I'm going to accept my selection by clicking this check mark here, and now that's my selection. And if I go to Layer, New, Layer via Copy, same as I did before, and then if I turn off the background, you can see I do have just the top layer, the portion that I wanted. I'm going to click on the bottom. I'm going to drag it to the trash since I don't want that anymore. And now what I can do is I can clean this up. What I want to do with this is I want to make this actually perfectly rectangular. And the problem is this is still not rectangular, and what I want to end up with is a perfectly rectangular image that I could post on a website and not have any gaps or slivers around the edges. So to do that, let me see. Okay, so to do that, what I want to do is I want to show some guidelines, because I want to drag this into a perfectly rectangular shape, but what I need is some help in knowing exactly what is perfectly rectangular. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do View Rulers. Now when my rulers are showing, what that allows me to do is I can drag out some guidelines. If you click while you're in a ruler and then drag down, what happens is Photoshop displays a guideline that's perfectly horizontal or perfectly vertical depending on which edge you draw it from. So I've got one at the top and the bottom now. Next I'm going to take one and drag it from left to right. And now I've got a perfect rectangle, and all I need to do is adjust these corners to be in the right place. So now what I can do is I'm going to use a different command. Before I do Select Transform Selection, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Edit Free Transform. And the Free Transform command works on a selection if you have one. In this case I didn't, or it works on the entire contents of the layer if there is no selection. And that's what it did in this case, because there was no selection, but it found the outline of the whole image and used that. Now, as before, what I want to do is I want to just freely move these corners without respect to right angles. So I'm going to hold down the Control key again, and now when I drag, I can position these corners right at the intersection of my guidelines. I'm going to do that again. I'm pulling the handles outside the rectangular areas, but that's what I need to do to get the actual content to show up at the intersections of the guidelines. So I'm going to do that one more time, and then finally one more time. And I could, if I really wanted to be precise, I would probably zoom in and do this, but I'm just going to illustrate it approximately this way. Now that I have my corners where I want them, if I click Apply, and so after clicking Apply, now I have a perfectly rectangular selection.